Rising podcast. My name is Bettina and I am your host. This is the platform that I talk to you about what makes us live that life that we want. The enjoyable one, the sustainable one, the successful one. The one where we feel uplifted and actually excited to wake up every single day. The one that we're not filled with regret and remorse and shame and anger and envy. How do we get to that point? Well, those are the kind of topics I talk about in this show, and I'd like to just put out the disclaimer that I am not a psychologist or social worker, counselor. I'm not any of those things. I'm actually a physical therapist and board certified in wound care and lymphedema. And so the question sometimes I get is, how do you jump from physical therapy to this, living your full life? And one of the ways that I get to experience life is when what we tend to treasure, which is our ability to move when we want to, move independently, to get up and do something as simple as get out of bed. What we consider, most of us, simple, to get up and walk to the bathroom, use the restroom, go back to bed and get comfortable, to roll over, not feel that comfortable and move that pillow a little bit. Or wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to have a nice cup of tea, and get up and go downstairs and turn that knob on and listen, be able to hear the water boiling, be able to see the fire. There are so many parts of our life that we take for granted in our physical world. But I do have the opportunity to work with people who lose some of that physical capability, and it then affects them emotionally and spiritually. Now, on some cases, it's a knee replacement, a hip replacement, or it was an injury, and there's a comeback from that. In other cases, there's an injury that's so big that there will never be a comeback that results in what was going on prior to this injury or event or accident. There are people that will always need a cane because of the massiveness of the stroke. There are some people that will always need to be in a wheelchair. And unfortunately, there are some people that will always remain in a bed, that they may not even be able to turn their head or roll over on their own. Everything is now different. So having those one-on-one conversations when someone's in that place contemplating what they really wanted to do with their life is what led me to this point, along with a lot of my own self-stories that I reveal from time to time in podcasts. But there is so much that we don't treasure in our lives that is so important, and we tend not to treasure it until it's gone. And I think that's a lot of human nature. I definitely am on board with that. I would have to raise my arms up and jump up in the sky and do jumping jacks because I absolutely have not treasured things until they were gone, or events or memories. So today's topic, which has taken me a little while to get to, is I'm really big on taking action. That's going to be the main topic. How can finding your self-worth and believing in yourself, expressing that confidence and appreciation for who you are, how can you express that? And I believe it's through taking actions with 3 different steps. So under that, I guess the trunk is taking action. And one of those main branches is sharing yourself. I am very much guilty of spending a lot of time in my life just being the quiet one. And some of us are quiet. We cannot all be extroverts, and we cannot all be comfortable in large crowds or want to even talk about certain feelings. There are certain topics that people don't necessarily want to talk about regardless of how close they are with someone. There's just private things. But being able to express yourself and share your values and what's important to you And sharing yourself does not mean to have only this one-on-one conversation like at a coffee shop or anything of that nature. But what about sharing yourself through your occupation? As an example, are you really doing the best job you have? Because you will stand out. You will stand out as someone enjoying and taking pride in their work. Well, maybe not always enjoying, but taking pride in their work, taking their job seriously, taking their role at this place seriously, regardless of what the job is. Owning it 100%. What about sharing themselves spiritually? What about if you have certain beliefs that you exemplify, that you show to the world by the actions you take? And some of those actions may be very visible, as a prayer, for example, or some people are very spiritual and love their crystals. I do know people that take their little stones to work every day, or they carry them around in their pocket, or certain ones for love and clarity. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes for people to share that about them without thinking, oh, they probably think I'm either a witch, or, which is fine if you're a witch, but it's this fear of judgment. And until I believe we are really clear on who we are and can share that with other people, then we actually are hiding. And unfortunately, sharing your opinion and sharing your thoughts tends to be almost like thought of as a criminal act sometimes. You having a different opinion is marginalized. You're put down. But that does not mean that you can't put your opinion out there. And actually, sometimes not putting your opinion out there is the way you are sharing yourself. Like, I'm not going to get involved in something. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to comment to this clear argument on Facebook or Instagram. I'm going to let that go. It's taking an action. It's taking a stand and feeling comfortable with yourself. The other way I think we can take a lot of action in our life is to kind of ignite that little flame or little pilot light of courage. We have this innate courage within all of us. And, there are the sayings, if you face the fear, everyone has fear, but it's what you do with it. Face everything and rise, or the other one, fall away and something. I don't remember that one. But I believe more in the face everything and rise, which is the FEAR acronym. That fear is a natural thing, but fear is also something that paralyzes us physically. I will tell a little story here that I do live in the Southwest, and I did see something in my bathroom with a little pointer, a little scorpion, and I was paralyzed. In fact, I was paralyzed. I just stopped and stared at it and thought it might be dead. And it probably was staying there and staring at me too. I was completely paralyzed in fear over something that was probably only 3 inches long and on the ground. In fact, I'm still looking right now to see if there's anything around. But the point is, I was feared. I was full of fear. But then there was a crossover when that thing tried to invade my closet. And I was pushed into action also because I had my child in this house. There's a point when you just have to act. It doesn't matter if you're afraid. And that can be with a bug in your house. It can be with taking that job opportunity that it's big. It's something you've never done. You're not sure if people are going to think that you're smart. You're not sure if you're going to think you're smart. But it's taking that courage to do it anyway. It's that courage to go back to school. It's the courage to sit down with your child and have that conversation that both of you you're going to be uncomfortable with, but needs to be done. It's having that uncomfortable conversation with whoever in your life. Having the courage to say what is important to you and not being all wound up with the results or their response. And having that little bit of courage You can't have courage and not do something. You can't have courage and stop. You still have momentum. And in that momentum, I believe in number 3, which is just being free. Go and be free. It does not mean that we're not working. It means not that we're hanging out with, our Doritos and pretzels on the couch, but just having it in our mind that we have more freedom than we are allowing ourselves to believe that we have. You have the freedom to really take care of yourself. And sometimes we don't have it so far as money. Sometimes we can't get our nails done or our hair done. Sometimes it's really, really rough times and we don't even have all the food. We may not even have the resources to go to school. We may not have a high school degree. I have wonderful listeners in many different parts of the world, and I don't know anything outside of my realm, which is, middle class American, but not everyone has a full opportunity. But that doesn't mean you aren't free within the space that you are right now. We all have an opportunity to pursue our happiness. It doesn't mean we have a right to it, but we have an opportunity. And that is something we cannot give up. And when we are doing those things, when we are acting in our freedom with our little pilot light of courage and sharing ourselves with the world, we are taking enormous actions showing that we believe in our own value and we believe in our own worth. And that is really the most important person you need to believe in yourself. It's just like all of the little relationship advice, you will see Derek Jackson, for example. I listen to a lot of Derek Jackson, and he would just go on and on and on. And he would say, you just cannot love someone enough for them to believe in themselves. You just can't do it. It's not going to happen. And it's the same thing, honestly. There's not someone that can love you enough and express that either through words or actions, gifts, whatever your love language is. They can't express it to you enough so that you will love your own self. You gotta get this from within. And once you take that action and you're in that space with all the other steps of self-love, of, honoring your body and being around positive people, valuing your time, learning the wonderful word no. Those are all things that allow you to take action with things that are important principles of your life. They're basically your personal policies in your life that you are now free to choose courageously and just share it out there. That's what I believe. Taking action, and even if that action is little bitty, is a lot more than staying still, because there is no progress standing still. It is only with motion. And that motion can even be in your mind. You can open your mind, open your soul, and everything else will begin to fall into place. You just got to keep moving, my friends. So thank you again for listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, because you know what? Our time is valuable, and you spent some time with me. What is this? 14 minutes. You spent 14 minutes with me. If you like this podcast, I invite you to rate it. You don't have to even write words. You can put just little stars on whatever podcast venue you listen to. I appreciate it. Every Tuesday there is a new episode, and so I'll see you next Tuesday. And until then, let's keep building one another up.